Okay, boot campers, we're going to do a demo here on searing. Now, we talked about that during lecture, and I'm going to demo this now. So we're going to get some heat on here, some heat on your pan. We're going to go medium to medium high. You don't want it too high. We're going to put some oil in here. While this oil is heating up, what I'm going to do, I'm going to season it. You always want to season before you sear because it gives you the flavor within the meat. Okay? So we're going to sear this up, get it nice and brown, and then we're ready to roast it. Again, we'll do a little bit of the seasonings of that. Okay? Now, to determine if the oil is hot enough, you can see the oil in the pan, and some of you can take a look at that. All right? And what you got the oil beginning to ripple. You don't want it too hot. You don't want it smoking. Well, if you start smoking, you're going to burn it. So as long as it starts to ripple, you're going to get some heat, because when you put your item in there, it's going to cool down, but it's still going to heat pretty fast. I'm going to start browning it on the fat side. All right, the fat side's over here, okay? And then you got the bone side on this side. So we're going to put it down on the fat side. And that should talk to you. When you put it in there, it should talk to you. You hear it sizzling, hear it going, and it's got a light sizzle to it. So I'm going to turn this up just a little bit more. You can hear that cooking. Now, we've talked about the reasons for searing. You got four things that searing does. All right. First of all, it's going to give you color. That's what you're looking to do. Second of all, it's going to give you texture. It's going to start to brown the meat in there and make it nice and crispy. And it's going to give you flavor. It's going to give you flavor, the charring of the proteins and that in there. And fourth, and very important, it begins to fond. Okay, when we talk about the fond, that's the beginning of the sauce. Fond actually means stock. It's all concentrated particles. Also, when we talk about searing and browning proteins, what are we talking about? It's not caramelization. It's called the Maillard reaction, when the proteins begin to brown. So this is what's happening. Now, it's not going to take too long to give me some color on here. Now, I'm going to turn this down a little bit more, because one thing you do not want to do is to burn this. You want it hot enough to brown it, but you don't want to burn it. Because if you start burning the oil, you start burning the fond, it's going to get that burnt, charred flavor within your sauce, because the fond is the beginning of your sauce. So we don't want to burn it. So we're going to turn the heat down just a little bit, giving us enough heat to get us a brown, and also enough heat to give us that fond reaction on the bottom of the pan. Now you can see it starting to brown nicely on the fat side. So let me turn this over, and I can show everybody here what you got in terms of color. All right, now I'm going to turn this back over on this other side, and I'm going to brown it on that side. We could have maybe a little bit longer on this, but this will be fine. This is going to darken up in the oven a little bit more. And this is what we want. Now, as this is browning, and some of you can see in this pan that I got some particles going on the bottom. Now you're going to say, well, that's an awful lot of fat. Well, the reason I got that amount of fat in there is because I want to brown it. You got to remember, the fat is a cooking medium. And the fat gets very hot. The fat is covering all those cracks and crevices in there, getting it hot, so it gets a really nice even brown all the way around on the top and in the cracks and the crevices. Also, that amount of fat is going to prevent it from burning. If I got fat just a little bit on the bottom of that, then you got open metal. And that open metal is going to end up burning once you get a fond on there. And you do not want that to happen. So again, what is happening, we're starting to get a nice brown. All right. We want to brown this on all sides. Okay. So it's starting to get good color. Now, because we got some good color working on the top here, we got some really good color working on the bottom. So what are we going to do about the sides? Well, it's very easy. What we're going to do is take this, and you need a little bit of strength and muscle. You just tip this up, and what we're going to do is put that on the side. All right, so we can get the sides browning. Now, when that side is browning, I'm going to turn this so you can see the nice color I got from browning it in terms of the searing of the meats. Again, you can see my temperature isn't really that high, because once I put the meat in there, the temperature is going to drop a little bit. Okay, so now what we're going to do is bring that back up to temperature. Now, to brown the sides again, you want to hear it talking to you, and it's sizzling really nice, and you can see that, see what's happening. Okay, so we're going to turn this now over. We've got a nice color there. We're going to bring it back up on this other side, just like that. Now, you can see the top, you can see the bottom. You want that browning all the way around it. It is a fallacy to think that browning it and searing it holds the juices. It does not. Juices will still come out. And again, going over those 4 things, Kevin, remember what they are? Color, texture, flavor, and the fun. Very good. All right, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this up on this end over here, and I'm going to rest this against the pan so I can get the back side done, just like that. When we're talking about roasts, this is a 3 to 4 pound roast. If I got something much bigger than this, your browning is going to come in the oven when it's roasting. You know, these small roasts like this doesn't take long to roast to finish. And what will happen, it's not going to get a good brown on it. So anything I would say less than 4 pounds, you want to sear it. Whether it be beef, pork, lamb, or something like that, you want to sear it. You want to get that browning started before you put it in the oven. Now, when it comes to big poultry, like turkeys and things like that, and even if you're looking at chicken, no need to sear it. Okay, what we did now, we rotated on all 4 sides, 5 sides, 6 sides, how many sides you got, you're going to want to brown it, all right? And that's what we did, bottom, top, sides, and we are ready to roast it. Now, if you look at your pan, you have no burning in the pan, okay? You can pour the fat off, you get a nice fond to develop your sauce. Okay, group, we're going to be roasting. Okay, remember our preliminary steps. The first and most important step that you got, make sure that that oven is on. It should be on at 350 degrees. Make sure it's on long enough to get pre-warmed, so that way we're ready to go to put the roast in it. Now remember your other pre-steps you got. First of all, you got to tie it, give it uniformity. Second, you season it. Third, you're going to sear it. And after you get it seared, you're going to take it and you're going to put it in a roasting pan with a rack. The reason why you have the rack is to keep it elevated off the bottom so the juices will go down to the bottom and create some fond. Also with the rack, your temperature and air will continue to circulate, okay, and cook evenly. To monitor temperature, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a probe thermometer. We'll cook it to 110 degrees and we'll take it out and let that rest. And we'll talk about that when we take it out and get ready to carve it. Now, the internal temperature is about 71 degrees. We're going to put this in the oven to start roasting it to about 110 degrees. When it reaches 110 degrees, we're going to hear bells and whistles, and we're going to take this roast out and let it rest. Okay, now I'm going to pull this beef out. Just take a look at the color. Now, remember, every time you roast something, you should always bring it out of the oven so that heat don't escape from that oven. Now, it's got really nice color. It's looking really good. It's cooking really nice. It looks nice and juicy, but I'm still not to temperature yet. The temperature here is set at 110. It's at 96, so this has to go back in. It got nice color. Everything looks good, but we still want to bring that internal temperature up to 110 degrees. Okay, our thermometer's going off. We've reached 110 degrees on our beef. I'll shut that off so it doesn't annoy anybody. All right, let's pull this out of the oven. Let me borrow your towel. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to come over here and we'll pull this out. Up we go. Oh, it looks awesome. Looks very nice. Now, what I am going to do for you is I'm going to let this thermometer in. So that way we can monitor what we call carryover cooking. We talked about that. In carryover cooking, what happens, the degrees on the outside is still working its way on the inside. So what happens, that temperature continues to rise even though it's sitting on the outside. It's not going to cool down very quickly. So it's going to continue to rise. And as the temperature continues to rise, then what happens, the juices begin to equalize throughout the meat. So it's going to reach a plateau. Carryover cooking sometimes takes between 10 and 20 degrees, depending on the type of roast you got. So we're going to give us at least 10, maybe 15 degrees carryover. So we're going to let this sit for about a half an hour to 40 minutes. And then what we're going to do, we're going to carve it. And then when we carve it, you're going to see a nice even color, nice even juices. Juices aren't going to run over the place. When I move the roast to the pan, you can see the fond. Okay, now fond is important for 3 sauces. It's for your natural jus, your juices, a julienne, which is starch thickened, natural juices, or working with a pan gravy. So you can do either or with that particular fond, and that's the reason why we have it.